Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chef Lee Craven. It's my pleasure to be here with you today from the beautiful campus of the University of Mississippi. We're going to talk today about cutting skills, knives in general. We're going to talk a little bit about sauteing and cooking some grains and safety. Yeah. So the first thing we want to do is whenever we're going to cut things, we want to use a cutting board, right? You never want to cut on the surface, okay? It'll scar the surface and it'll mess your knives up. So the first obstacle is that this cutting board is moving around on us. So the easy solution to that is we're just going to take a wet towel. We're going to place it underneath the cutting board. Magic, right? Magic, okay? No problem. So problem solved. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a great knife. Paring knife is a fantastic knife for small tasks or intricate details, okay? Sometimes people love to use this for everything. They love to cut and chop and whatever. This is not for that, okay? This has its purpose and we'll get into that. But for just general use, we're going to want to use a chef's knife, okay? Now this can be weird. We're going to talk about proper hand skills and things like that. It can be weird. It will feel weird. You'll think this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But I promise you, and that's true sometimes. But in this case, if you practice this skill, it'll be like moving from driving a Pinto to a Cadillac. You'll wonder how in the world you ever did it the other way. Why you were using a paring knife or whatever it is. It'll blow your mind, okay? So let's talk about just chef's knives in general. We have two different kinds. Stamped, S-T-A-M-P-E-D, and forged, F-O-R-G-E-D. Now the stamped knife is this. This is stamped. They take a large sheet of metal, they press it out just like you would press out a cookie sheet or cookies for Christmas. They sharpen it up, they put this plastic epoxy handle on it. They sell this thing for $15 to $30. Through heavy use, this is going to last you 2.5, 3 years, something like that. Okay? Nothing wrong with this knife, it's great. Forged knives are different. It's metal that they heat, beat, and fold, and then the process is repeated multiple times. The blade gets really hard. It's not quite as flexible as this, but it will last you a lifetime if you take care of it. Okay? So let's talk about how we're going to hold this bad boy. We're going to put our thumb on one side where the blade meets the handle. Our thumb is going to go there. On the other side, we're going to put one finger down. Some people like to use two. Some people like to use three. Whatever's comfortable for you. I use one, like this. And then your fingers wrap around just like that. Like you're choking up on a softball bat or a baseball bat. Okay? Now the right hand controls up and down. And that's all it controls. Up and down. Okay? Not side to side. And most people can generally get this fairly easily. This is the part where people get tripped up. Okay? The left hand is going to control left and right. Okay? What we're going to do is take our hand and curl all our fingers under. Now, not like this. That's a bad plan, right? Like this, okay? And the blade is actually going to rest on a finger of your choosing like this. Okay? So up and down, left and right. Okay? Now, you don't want to hold the knife like this, obviously, right? And not like this, okay? I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, it is tough in the beginning. It is tough. But through practice, it'll be like moving from a Pinto to driving a Cadillac. You'll wonder how in the world you ever used to do it with any other knife or with this knife any other way. Okay? So, I would also like to talk to you guys about sharpening knives real fast. Now, it seems kind of counterintuitive that a sharp knife would be safer, but it actually is. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this knife. And this is a steel, a honing steel. Now, steel is never going to get this knife sharper than it was in the beginning, okay? What it will do is, through constant chopping, what happens is the blade, it starts to dull. The metal gets pushed down and you start to get these little hairs on the metal, okay? What the honing steel will do is kind of comb it back into a point, okay? And the proper way to do that is, I see people do this all the time. They go towards themselves. Listen, I love these fingers. I want to keep them. I'm not going to go towards my hand. I'm going to turn the blade around the other way, and I'm going to go away, okay? What we want is about a 45-degree angle, okay? About a 45, not like this, not like this, 45. And we're going to put a slight amount of pressure and just pull it through. Just like that. Now, if the steel is making a noise that hurts your teeth, like nails on a chalkboard, you do not have the angle correct, okay? You need to make sure you go the same amount of times on each side, all right? So, let's talk about chop, dice, and slice, ladies and gentlemen, okay? We're going to do an onion. We have two ends of this onion. We have the root end, which grows in the ground, drinks the water, delicious, right? Grows big and strong. And then we have the stem end, which sticks up and tells us where it's at. Okay? We're going to take the root end off. Just the root end. Okay? So just this little bit right here. We need this hard surface right here because this is going to ensure that our onion stays together when we cut it. Okay? We're also going to take the back off, the top off, excuse me, just a little bit. Okay? Now sometimes you see people, now they sit here and they want to scrape this thing and try and peel it. Don't do that, okay? We want to make a cut just like this where we have this root end on both sides. So that looks like that, right? Root end on both sides, okay? Now, this is a joke to peel, right? Ha ha. All right, so we got a lot of stories that we like to tell about onions and cutting onions and a lot of ridiculous nonsense. Run water and you won't cry, right? Have a flame next to you, you won't cry. My personal favorite involves unicorns in the Andes Mountains, right? None of that is true. It's not true. It sounds really good, but it's not, okay? Facts are this. The older the onion is, the more you're going to cry, okay? There is this little, if you can see, this little seed situation right here. Just this very little seed situation, okay? That is where most of the gas in this onion is contained. If you take that out, it will assist you in not crying, but it will not prevent it, okay? Just like that. If we look at this onion, we can see that it has lines that run long ways, okay? It has lines that run long ways like this. We're going to cut that way. This is telling us it's like a roadmap of how to cut it, okay? We're going to use the tip of the knife like this to make incisions all the way up to about the last 1/4 inch of this thing, okay? We're going to use our new ninja skills and we're going to practice, okay? So not like this, like this. So I'm going to come down and just slice through, not penetrating that last 1/4 inch. Okay? So, it's separated but not falling apart because we have this. Okay? Next, we're going to take the onion and turn it sideways, and we're going to make lateral cuts this way. Now, you don't want your hand behind this. You want your hand on top. Okay? So, if there's an accident, we don't lose any fingers, right? So, that looks like this. Go in, same distance to about the last 1/4 inch. Okay? Now, all we have to do is cut down. So I'm resting the blade against this finger. This hand is determining how thick I want this cut. And it's diced, right? Just like that. No worries, okay? Doop, doop, doop. Easy breezy. Now, let's talk about slice. Slicing onions is very similar. The prep for it will be exactly the same up to this point, okay? The only difference is we're going to take this root end out. This root end has to come out. We're then just going to slice all the way through. We don't have to worry about this last 1/4 inch. We don't have to worry about any of that. So all the way through, okay? You are going to get, ladies and gentlemen, to a point, which I'm at right now, where it is a little bit ridiculous for you to sit here and try and hold this thing like this, okay? The solution is flip the onion down, just flip it down, and then you can continue. Okay? We'll clean our surface. So, I want to show you guys how to cut a pepper the best way I've ever seen in my entire life, hands down. Okay? Pepper, green, red, orange, yellow, irrelevant. Okay? We're going to take the top, just the bare top. Now this is not trash, there's nothing wrong with this. We'll cut that up in a minute. Okay? And we're going to take the bottom. And we're going to take it to a point where we can see. You can see through it, yeah? You don't need HD TV through this thing. We just need to be able to see light coming through it, okay? So once we get it to this point, we're going to make a cut down so it's split. We're going to put the knife inside, and we're simply going to unroll this thing, okay? Just like that. The seeds, the pith, that whole thing comes out just like that. All right, so now that we have it to this point, we're just going to cut it down into manageable sized pieces. And we're going to slice through it like this. We're going to make long strips. That resemble this, okay? Now, that's fine if you want it just like that, but if you wanted it diced, just line the strips up this way and cut down through, okay? Of course, using your new ninja skills. Just like that. Let's clean that up. So, I'd like to talk to you guys because we're trying to move in the school systems, we're trying to move into fresh cooking. I'd like to talk to you guys about garlic a little bit, okay? This is a head of garlic, okay? It's called fresh. That's kind of a misnomer. It's generally dried for at least a year before you ever see it, okay? But we'll call it fresh. So what we need to do is simply put some pressure on this thing to break it apart, okay? And what you'll see then is these little cloves. So we've got little cloves, and they have this papery kind of wrapper on them, okay? It is, I'm not going to say impossible, but it's going to be a feat for you to sit here and try and scrape this off, okay? The best way to deal with this is simply take the knife, lay it flat, and smack it. Smack it, the paper will come off, the garlic will be exposed. Delicious, okay? Let's do another one. Let's do that one more time. Little tap. And there we go. Okay? Now, to deal with this, the garlic you'll see has a little root on the end, so we want to take that off. That little root's got to come off. And then if you're going to mince this garlic, it's going to go like this. Line it up and just give a little slice through. It doesn't have to be anything pretty, it doesn't have to be anything cute. Okay, slice through a couple of times like this. Okay? When they're small chunks like this, now you have a choice, okay? You can continue in this manner to chop this up, and that's fine. It will take a little bit more time. The method that I prefer, once you get it to this point, is this. We're going to switch, and we're going to take the knife, and we're actually going to sort of grind this garlic with the blade. So it's an action that looks like this, okay? And what you'll end up doing is cutting this stuff into a little paste in about 3 seconds. Okay? So done. Past minced. There you go. Now, I don't know why this works. It just does. Sometimes, a lot of times when you cut garlic or onions a lot, you get this stink all over your hands, okay? For some reason, if you touch while water is running on it or while your hands are wet, if you rub your hands on stainless steel, it will take the smell out. It's just magic. I don't know. Someone else can explain it. I don't know. But it's great. Okay? So, let's talk about tomatoes. Okay? And we're going to bring the paring knife into play on this. Okay? We have this root right here that we need to get out. Okay? So that's what this is for. This is for small, intricate things or things that need to be done in your hand, not necessarily things that need to be done on the cutting board. We're going to insert this knife at an angle, okay, like this. So not straight down, at an angle, okay? And we're going to turn the tomato, and the root will come out. just like that. Okay? Problem solved. Now, you can cut tomatoes up with this knife. Okay? I personally prefer this serrated knife for cutting up tomatoes. It doesn't drag through. You won't ever have tomatoes squashing around on you. Okay? So, like that. And if you're cutting them up for salads, you could just do that. Yeah? Okay? This is a great tomato knife. It's also obviously good for bread. But I would recommend that for tomatoes. Okay. This is eggplant. So, being that we're trying to introduce a lot of vegetables in the schools and in our programs and things, we're going to be trying to use things like this. Okay? So, we've got the same kind of situation as almost any squash. Okay? You've got a skin, you've got a top and a bottom. This one is a little bit different. We're going to take the top and we're going to take the bottom. Okay? And you'll notice that the inside is white. There are a tremendous amount of seeds. And then you have this black purpley skin on the outside. Okay? Sometimes you'll want to leave the skin and sometimes you won't. The skin can be really bitter. Okay? So if you did want to take the skin, first thing you would want to do is cut it down into a manageable sized piece, right? We don't want to try and cut this whole thing at one time, okay? And then you can peel it with a peeler. You can peel it with a chef's knife as well, though. Just take the knife and go around like that. So as I'm cutting, I'm curving the knife. I'm curving the knife down like this, okay? It's not a straight cut. I'm using the tip and curving it under, okay? Now, once we get all the skin off, now it's time to chop this sucker up. And that's going to be done like this. We're going to cut down just however thick you want these pieces to be, okay? All right. So, now what we're going to do is take these slices and we're going to stack them together. Now do not, ladies and gentlemen, be a hero and stack these things 25 tall, right? 4, 5, tops, okay? Now we're going to just simply cut down, sort of like we did for the peppers. Okay? So now we have strips. Okay? If we want to dice it, we'll turn it this way. Make sure our stack is straight and go through. Okay? Diced eggplant, just like that. Eggplant is great, ladies and gentlemen. It has the ability to taste like whatever you want because by itself it tastes like almost nothing, which is great because you can make it taste like whatever you want it to. Okay? Now, let's get into a little bit more paring knife stuff. Head of broccoli. Okay? Let's say we want the florets off the top, and then we're going to cut the stalk up for something, okay? So you can see, if you look here, where the florets meet the main stalk, okay? We're going to cut there. That's where we're going to cut. Just like this, okay? And then you can cut them apart individually, okay? Doop, doop, doop. Now, we have the stalk, okay? The outside of this stalk is super hard, super fibrous. But if you look on the inside, you got to go in a little bit. But on the inside, it's pretty sweet and it's very tender, okay? So, we're going to cut it where we got manageable sized chunks. And now we can move back, if you like, to the paring knife, okay? And that's going to look just like this. Make sure you get all that fibrous material off. I messed a little bit right there. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is my personal favorite part of the broccoli, okay? It's a winner, hands down. Then you can, if you want to, chop it up like we have been doing, right? So the running theme is long cuts, stack the cuts, strips, turn the strips, diced. Okay? Just like that. Cauliflower is going to be similar to that. We're going to approach this similarly. So here we have the entire head, okay? So problem number one is we have these. Take them off. You don't have to worry about getting every single one of them off. But get it where you have good access to this stalk, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to, with the root end up, we're going to take this knife, just like we did with the onion, and cut it all the way down, okay? All the way down. Exposing this, and what you'll see is this core, and then you'll see the tendrils where it's connected, okay? So, to get this out of here, we're just simply going to make almost a V cut to get this core out, okay? Doom, doom. Okay? Cauliflower is great because most of the time you can just break it up. You don't need to cut it, you can just break it, okay? Just like that. Now, if you wanted to, you could take these if you wanted it like shredded and just cut straight down and it'll shred into small little pieces like magic for you. Okay? Perfect. Oop. Now, it is my firmly held belief, ladies and gentlemen, that if you can cut up a carrot, you can cut up anything. Okay? We got several obstacles in cutting up a carrot. One is it's big, right? It's long. Two is it's hard. Okay? And three is this, ladies and gentlemen, is a finger loser. Is an absolute finger loser if not taken care of properly. So, let's address these problems. One, it's long. Problem solved, right? Magic. Problem solved. Problem number two, that it's hard. Well, that's just, you have to take that up with the inventor of carrots, right? That's not on me. And three is this. And the way we're going to approach this is, we're going to take a small section out of the back, okay? Leaving us with a flat surface right here. The flat surface then goes down, and then it won't roll on you anymore, okay? We're going to proceed like we have with the eggplant. We're going to make long cuts like this, leaving us with this. We're going to stack the carrots like we talked about. Don't be a hero. 3 or 4, maybe 5, right? Cut long strips. Okay? If you want them like that, then you got it. If not, turn them. And go through. Okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that some of this stuff, chopping and dicing, may have looked a little bit easier than it will when you really get into it, okay? Please understand, this is not the first carrot that I have ever cut up. This takes practice. This is not the first onion that I've ever diced up. It takes practice. You can do it. You can do it. You just have to try, okay? Some tips I would like to give you on that are this, and I see this a lot in class, is people love to do what I like to call the push cut, okay? The push cut involves putting the knife down here and then trying to force it through the food, okay? This knife is sharp. This will help you get your knife sharp, okay? This knife is a tool. Use it as a tool, okay? You do not have to put a tremendous amount of pressure on this thing if the knife is sharp, okay? What we want to do is, the right hand has a slight slicing motion to it, okay? It's a slicing motion. That'll get the blade working for you, not against you, okay? Let's cut up a couple mushrooms, and then let's start talking about grains, okay? We're just going to slice these suckers up. So we're going to cook some quinoa today. Quinoa is a fabulous grain, okay? It tastes delicious. It's highly nutritious, okay? First thing we want to do is we want to saute our vegetables, okay? And saute involves this. Saute involves high heat and a little bit of fat. So the first thing we're going to do when we want to saute is we're going to turn the heat source on and just let the pan start to get hot, okay? We're going to put some oil. This is canola oil. A little bit, okay? A little bit. We'll coat the bottom. We're not deep frying, we're sauteing, right? Then we're going to let this just sit here, okay? A lot of cooking is just waiting, okay? We're going to wait till we start to see little whimsical wafts of smoke coming off this thing, okay? That's called the smoke point. We have reached the smoke point of this oil. Different oils have different smoke points, okay? That'll let us know that this is ready to saute, right? Now, please understand, there's a difference between whimsical steam, right, and black smoke, and this thing about to burst into a raging inferno. Those are two different things, okay? So we're going to get that going. And we're going to add our vegetables, but we're not going to add them all at the same time. We're going to do an order, okay? We're going to do the things that take the longest or are usually the hardest. In this case, carrots, onions, and mushrooms, okay? We're going to do those first. We're going to do the mushrooms first because we want them to get GBD, which of course is golden brown and delicious, okay? Now, it is absolutely human nature. I do not know why. It just is. We just love to. What we want to do is get this thing hot, and you want to put the mushrooms in there, and then immediately, you want to start moving the pan. You want to stir it, and you want to flip it, and you want to be a ninja, okay? Don't do that. Do not do that. Step away. We're going to put the mushrooms in and step away, okay? We're going to give them time to get golden brown and delicious, and then we can add the other vegetables, all right? A lot of recipes call for you putting garlic in a saute in the beginning. Do not put the garlic in at the beginning, okay? It will burn. Once it burns, it turns black, it turns bitter, and then everything that's in here will turn black and bitter, okay? So, we have little whimsical wafts of smoke coming off. If you wanted to check, it would go like this. If you can hear that, you're good to go, okay? If you don't hear anything, you've got too much, okay? Another point, it needs to go longer, excuse me. Another point about saute is you do not want to spend your time getting this pan nice and hot, the proper amount of oil, and then load this bad boy up, okay? If it's not touching the bottom, then you have too much food and you need to start another batch, okay? It needs to be touching the bottom. We're going to season this as we go. So, this is just a little blend of salt and pepper. Mushrooms love salt, mushrooms love pepper. We're just going to put a little bit in. And we're leaving it, right? We're leaving it alone. It's going to get golden brown and delicious. This is quinoa, by the way. It's like little pearls, okay? We're going to cook this grain, and almost all grains are generally 2 to 1. So, 1 part, or example, 1 cup of quinoa to 2 cups of water. Some grains are different. Most are 2 to 1. Okay? You also do not want to continually stir these grains. Once you get the water and everything going, if you continually stir them, oatmeal or grits or whatever it is, it's going to start getting gummy. And gummy grits and gummy quinoa is not what you're looking for. Okay? So, let's check. If you can see that, golden brown and delicious, right? Wish you were here. Smells great already, okay? Now, once you get this golden brown and delicious, now we can stir it. We can play with it. We can do whatever we want, okay? Next up, we're going to put some onions in. And we're going to put some carrots. And we're going to put some salt and pepper. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to make sure it's touching the bottom. and then we're going to walk away again. Okay? Walk away. We're going to let this do its thing. We're going to let this cook 2 or 3 minutes. Okay? Now if you notice right here, if you notice at the bottom, this saute pan is completely dry. Okay? That's because the mushrooms have sucked up that grease. Okay? That oil. We're going to put just a little bit more, not a lot. We're not deep frying, right? Just a little bit more. Okay? Once this goes in the peppers, we'll cook those. Once all your vegetables are softened, once they're all softened, the last thing we're going to add is the garlic. Okay? We're going to add the garlic for about a minute. We're going to put it by itself. You'll start to smell it, okay? Once you start to smell it, you need to cook it for about 30 seconds, and then it's time to add the liquid, okay? So we'll cook this. Smells pretty good. Then we're going to add the grain. We're going to add the dry grain first, and we're going to toast it. We're just going to let it sit in here with this and toast. Once it's toasted, let's say a minute, then we're going to add our water, okay? 2 to 1. We're going to bring it up to a boil. If it doesn't boil off the top, we're going to bring it up to a rolling boil, okay? Stir the bottom just a little bit to make sure nothing's stuck. Then we're going to put a lid on it. Once it comes to a rolling boil, we're going to put a lid on it, and we're going to turn it down on simmer, okay? This quinoa will probably take about 10 minutes to cook. So we'll just check on it. All right, so we're going to let this quinoa cook, simmer for about 10 or 12 minutes. Then we're going to take a fork once all the water is evaporated, and we're going to fluff it, which basically means we're going to take this fork, we're going to rake it through the quinoa, we're going to separate the grains, put some air in there, and make it generally delicious, right? So it's been my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to be with you today. Please visit nfsmi.org. We have a tremendous amount of resources for you. We know your job is hard. You have a lot of constraints. You have a lot of things that are pulling you in different directions, time and employees and recipes and things like that. So this is what we do. We're here to help. Call us. Please visit the website. Tremendous amount of stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much.